Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Uch back again once again. And for the first time ever, it's been years in the making, I am with my homie, Sweet Johnny Cage, one of the Final Fantasy VII experts. Okay, this is my guy, all right? Finally got him on the channel, and we're going to be talking about our experiences with Final Fantasy VII Remake. And Johnny, I got to tell you, man, this game was perfect in my opinion.
Wow. Okay.
That's the big startup that I'm gonna have us talking about. I just wanted to put that out there because with my experience with the original, even though I haven't finished the original, it's obviously something that I still need to do and I plan on doing. But we've known each other for like over 10 years. It feels like for definitely longer.
Video Game Central was 2008, 2007.
Oh yeah,
so
so
12,
decade
13
plus
years.
confirmed. Yeah. And ever since then, I could tell you guys this guy has literally been trying to get me to play and I kept trying and but I just never finished it. I was whack. I still am because I still haven't finished it, right? But that's
Well, you've at
okay.
least gotten further than where the remake ends.
Right, right. And that was my whole like selling point to myself on like cuz if I was like, "Oh, I'm going to feel bad if like I like don't get to a certain point," but thankfully I did on my Switch version. That's the latest save that I have. But yes, you have beaten it how many times, the original?
Let's see. I first played it in 1998 for my 10th birthday. I got a PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII. Um, I had played it before then, actually, about a month prior.
Uh-huh.
So I beat it once when I was a kid, and then I returned to it when it came to the PS3 and the PSP. And I think I have cleared it since then, maybe 7 or 8 times, like
Okay.
100%. I've grinded out all the materia, then all the chocobo raising each time. So like every time the game has come out, PSP, PS3, PS4, PC. I don't have the Switch version, but like I've played it all multiple times on every sort of format. I've also played Crisis Core to death. I've seen Advent Children a dozen times. I own the Blu-ray of Advent Children, which is Advent Children Complete, which
Yes.
is the real version.
Yes.
I never played Dirge of Cerberus, which I don't think anybody needs to. I didn't. Yeah, I've played most of Final Fantasy VII, and I played the original game probably like 10 to a dozen times to completion.
So, as you guys heard, this man might know a thing or two about the franchise, obviously. Right? Damn, that's crazy. 10 times, man. Like so like it's easy to say you definitely know the story overall inside and out.
Yeah, I mean, there's still things like that are left up to interpretation. You know, but yeah, I definitely remember all the major story beats very, very well. One of the things that I will say about the remake is that I really enjoyed how they started fleshing out the story between Midgar and Wutai, specifically Shinra and Wutai. And I think that that's going to really set things up for the next game. I hope they dive even deeper into it. And that was something that was better explained in Crisis Core than in the original game. Even before Crisis Core, or I guess in like the prologue of Crisis Core, if I'm remembering correctly, there's a war between Wutai and Shinra or Midgar, and it's sort of like the materia users or like people like not materia users. Wutai definitely uses materia, but it's people who are like sucking Mako out of the earth and sort of like the purists, like the old school kind of people who don't want that to happen. The war between them is very vicious, very brutal. Aerith's stepmother's husband dies in the war. So I'm glad that they sort of like brought that into the fold and made that like a major plot point. So yeah, I know the story very well.
Yeah, see, like, and like speaking of stories, like this game, like with the remake, the remake was like part of my experience being like so, like I was so invested and engulfed in the entire story. Like, I have to say that like I can tell that there are some changes along with this remake in comparison to the original. And I caught the end of Maximilian's stream when he finally beat it, and
Okay. I
and
still haven't
like,
watched that.
oh yeah, no, I haven't seen a lot of his, and that's I even said that in my last video, talking about my experience completely, and that like I
Mhm.
would like to take the time to go back and watch like some of the chapter runs that he had on his channel, or he has on his channel. Um, but I actually like tuned in live like on his Twitch. It was like super late or early in the morning, night, however way you want to look at it. Because you know he's on the West Coast, so he's like 3 hours behind
Right.
us. And I wanted to see his reaction and like the things that he was saying, and a lot of the people that were in my stream that were talking to me about like what happens like at the big climax, and like at this point I feel like we're good to talk about spoilers of
Sure.
the remake.
Hmm.
Um, so so yeah, like if it seems like Sephiroth knows of his previous L that he takes in the original, right? And now
Okay.
it's almost like he's trying to reshape or avoid that by showing like things that happened or have happened to Cloud and the rest of the gang. And it's like, is this a sequel now? Like a requel? Like
Right.
what is like what is this?
A requel. That's a good term. A
Yeah.
requel. Yeah, so I don't know. I think the theory that I'm going with is that, so I know the original theory that a lot of people were working under was that this is Sephiroth from Advent Children, and he is somehow still in the live stream, and he knows the outcome, obviously, so he's doing his best to go back in time and change things. I don't necessarily buy that. I think what's happening is that this is sort of like a retelling of the original game, and I still believe that we're going to get all those major story beats. We're still going to go to Com. We're going to go to the Chocobo Ranch, Junin, Casas del Sol,
Mm.
everywhere. Like I think we're still going all those places. And I still think Aerith is going to die. Maybe she doesn't die in City of the Ancients. Spoiler, I know you haven't gotten there yet, but that's where it happens 23
Right.
years ago. Um, I just think that things are going to play out the way they are, the way they're quote supposed to. And the reason I think that is because I think what's happening is that Sephiroth, and I'm sort of telling you things that you haven't experienced in the original, but do
Dude,
you
I'm
mind if I tell
late.
you
I'm
that?
15 years plus late, bro.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
my
okay, okay.
fault.
So basically, in the original game, Sephiroth is in the Northern Crater, and he's there because 5 years prior, or 3 years prior, can't remember whatever the real date is. I think it's 5 years prior. Cloud kills him in Nibelheim, throws him into the Mako in the reactor, and he dies in the live stream. And like his hatred has kept him alive. So he is in a materia crystal in the northern crater. Like that's where he like washed up. He's in a huge thing of materia, like just a big crystal of Mako, and he is calling for the reunion. And the reunion is something that is talked about a lot more in Advent Children than anything. Like it's mentioned in the original game a bunch of times, but it's sort of like throwaway text by like Hojo and Sephiroth and like
Right.
Cloud. Like it's not like nobody's having like a conversation as to what the reunion is.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um, and that's where you see like the this guy are a sick guy in Sector 5 slums, like the Sephiroth clones. That's why they have the numbers tattooed on them, which they do in the remake. And so what's happening is he's in the Northern Crater. He's calling for the reunion, and this is so all of his followers or everybody with Genova cells inside of them come to Sephiroth. And the hopes is that one of them brings the black materia so he can summon Meteor, and that person is Cloud. So I think that is what is still happening. But I think in Remake, because Sephiroth has been in the live stream for 5 years, he has learned the fate of the planet. And he has learned that through the live stream. And he knows that he's going to summon a meteor. He knows Aerith dies, but he knows he ultimately loses. And he knows like the key events in the game are why he loses. So that's why when we're fighting the Whispers, it was like Whisper Harbinger, I think is the second to last boss.
Yeah.
Every time you kill one of the lesser Whispers, which if you paid attention is either a replicant of Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. One fights with a sword, one with guns,
Yup.
one with fists.
Yup. Of
Or
course.
somebody actually mentioned this in my guide for the Whisper Harbinger in my comments, youtube.com/WithJohnnyCage.
Hey.
Somebody actually mentioned that it's the guys from Advent Children, and I cannot remember their names. I know one's Kadaj. He's the one who turns into
Oh
Sephiroth.
yeah, the other Sephiroth lookalikes.
Right. So the Sephiroth remnants, I think they're called. Um, damn, I can't actually. Let me just look up their names really quick. Oh god. Okay. Kadaj, Yazoo, and Luz, and apparently one of them uses two guns, so that might make a little bit more sense. It's been a long time since I've seen Advent Children, aside from the
Yeah.
final fight with Sephiroth. I've watched that a million times, but actually like sat and watched the movie the whole way through. It's been a long time. So yeah, those whispers. Every time you kill one of them in the Whisper Harbinger fight, you are shown like a glimpse of a major turning point in the original story. Aerith summoning Holy and ultimately dying. Cloud laying Aerith to rest. Red 13 and his pack 200 years after the first game. This is like the post-credits scene where Red 13 and his future children are like running along the canyon and they see Midgar overgrown and reclaimed.
I was wondering what that meant. Okay.
Yeah, it's the post-credit scene from the original game. And it's like 200 years later or something like that. So yeah, that every time you kill one of those whispers, you are shown a glimpse. And I think Sephiroth knows that those are the particular times or the turning points in the original story. So he's doing his best to change those. So I think, to recap, Sephiroth being in the live stream learns the fate of the planet, just being in the live stream. And then the whispers, the ghosts, are the arbiters of fate. And their job is to protect the destiny of the planet, keep the planet on course, keep the live stream on course. And Aerith, because she's an ancient, she has a connection to the planet, she knows, and I think she understands that Red 13 is of like an ancient race, not a Cetra, but like a very old race of the planet.
All right.
So he can handle that information. And there's like certain points towards the end where they look at each other for explanations, and like she sort of like looks at him like, you got to think of something fast because I can't lie. Like, so weird things happen towards the end there. So I think that's what's happening with Sephiroth.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I'm just happy that I was able to play the game and experience it at all and beat it, because as you know, personally, beating games is not my thing, apparently.
That's crazy. I don't know how you do that.
I don't know how I do it either. I'm the worst when it comes to stuff like this, but that's why I kind of no-lifed it. I feel like subconsciously my body just was like, it didn't help that the game was as good as it was. Like, the game was like, it was very hard to put down. And with all that in mind, my body was just like, nah, you need to finish this. Like, you can't like stop.
In your recap video, you said something that I said to another friend of mine. The time just melted away, and like, you did not notice that you were playing for like 4 hours at a clip. Like, dude, the end of the game. So you've played up to this. Like, when you kill Motorball, the boss on the expressway, that's where it should end, right? Like,
right.
I was not expecting anything after that. Literally nothing. The final trailer showed something,
right?
And I still had not seen that yet, so I figured, okay, there's something else. I thought maybe a cutscene.
That's right.
But like,
at least
opening up a portal into the singularity, going to the edge of creation, like, those were things that were brand new. So yeah, like I killed Rufus, I killed the Arsenal, and then I was like, okay, I just got to kill Motorball, game over. So I just kept playing and playing and playing. It was like 3 hours later. I was like, oh my god, like, I had no idea that much time passed. It was crazy,
dude. It was one of those things that it caught. I'm sure it caught all of us off guard completely.
Yeah,
because it was like you didn't expect it, and like my chat was kind of like getting me hyped for the last fight, and I thought that I was like, oh, like, we're ending it with a motorcycle level. Like, that's what's up. Like,
great.
That's cool. Like, I don't remember this being in the original. Like, I remember there being a motorcycle level, but like, it was like way early on.
No, it was right before that. So in the original game, you kill Rufus, you kill the Arsenal and Heligunner in the elevator.
Yeah. I remember that too.
And then you escape from Shinra Tower on a motorcycle.
Okay.
And you play like a mini game where you just like hack and slash soldiers. So like,
right.
All of that was recreated in the remake, where you just like defend, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, and Red 13 in the truck, and like, you take care of everything. And then Motorball was like a regular fight at the end. So
Right.
like you reach the end of the expressway, you get out of your vehicles, and then you fight Motorball,
Okay.
and then you leave Midgar.
Yeah, see, like, yeah, okay, all right, I remember that now because, like,
Yeah,
that's the thing, like, the way they remade everything, or like situations like that,
yeah,
it was beautiful. Like, I was like,
yeah.
damn, like, this is crazy because I was also like ready for, like, okay, like, this is the part where we're gonna leave, like,
Yes.
because I
Roll
I.
credits.
I vividly remember on my stream when I actually did this when I was this was like last year at some point when I was playing Final Fantasy 7 on my Switch, and I was playing it on stream. And as soon as like we beat that boss, and then like you finally get the shot of Cloud, like away from Midgar, so you're like on the world map, like in the original.
Yep.
As soon as that happens, my stream was like, "Congratulations, now your game begins."
Yes, and that was like a mind blowing experience. Like Final
Yeah,
Fantasy VII was my first Final Fantasy as a kid.
right.
I had played Secret of Mana, I'd played Legend of Zelda, I'd played RPGs before that, but I'd never played a Final Fantasy before. And so like when I got out of Midgar and you like get the PHS cell phone to like switch your party members and like you're just on the overworld map and it's just like, wait, I figured the game would be sectors 1 through 8, not
Right.
sector 5, 6, 7 and out. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
like you go back late. Like that's what I'm really looking forward to is like the final part of this game, hopefully, where you like jump back into Midgar out of the high wind and like you go to sector, I think it was like sector 0 or something like that. Like you or no, sector 8. Like you go through sector 8 and you do the infiltration. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I can't wait to actually finish the original so that I can be like, all right, even though I like, and at this point in time, like, it's kind of hard not to know what happens in the original, but
Sure.
yeah,
There's a lot of stuff that like just reading things online or like watching cutscenes like you're not going to get because a lot of things in the original game are told from just people in towns, which
mm,
is a very old school thing to do. Like just the lore dumps from them,
mm-hmm.
and it's definitely worth your time to play. I mean, dude, just play it on PS4 with like 4X mode. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? It's a 23-year-old game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Switch also has like a speed up type of. It's
Okay.
not a hack, but you know, it's part of it. So,
Yeah, you like press in the thumbstick and it
mm-hmm.
jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. PS4 is the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I was glad that I got on the Switch because, like, you know, I don't have the excuse of like, oh, I have to be at home to play it. Like, that's why I got on the Switch, so that way I could literally just like undock and literally play wherever
Yeah.
if I wanted to. And you know, it's obviously it's not graphic heavy, even though it's like a remaster, but it's, you know.
Oh no, dude, I, I'm very grateful that they put that out, but that is one of the most low effort ports I've ever seen. Like it's a port of a port. It's a port of the PC version,
Yeah.
and even the PC version, the original 1998 PC version, was way better.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that game gets so weird. Like with a random battle, like the whole screen turns instead of just like putting the filter on and twisting it. Like it's like the whole thing flipped 4 times. It's just like this is so jarring. There's like sound problems where if you cast Ultima, which is like a very late game spell, it like
Mhm.
screeches through your speakers. It's like real bad.
Wow, I things I did not know.
You wouldn't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
you wouldn't know.
man. But so yeah, so other than all of that, I want to also ask, like, what were your favorite parts of this remake in comparison to like the original, and like all the times that you spent playing the original?
Sure. So a few of them were like big set piece moments. I guess going in order. So the bombing run, right? Like the first mission was of course incredible. I played that last year at PAX though, so like I was sort of like just autopiloting through that for the most part because
Oh
it's
yeah.
literally the same as it's almost 1-to-1 for the demo.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like the demo. So actually, what I played at PAX after you beat the guard scorpion or the scorpion sentinel, as it's called in this game,
Yeah.
it ended. So you didn't do the escape. So like when the demo came out and you did the escape, I was like, oh my god, I actually get to do the rest because like the PAX demo was such a tease because you killed the boss and then like it ended and then the timer started and then it said thank you for playing and it's just like oh come
Yeah.
on. So when the demo came out, I was like really happy. So yeah, the escape and wandering around sector 1 or whatever. Yeah, I guess it was sector 1. wandering around that sector was really really cool, and just seeing how they like reimagined things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other really cool things, actually, at the very start of the game, is the intro cinematic. Like once it gets to, so you have like the crow flying, and then the people on on the plate,
Mm-hmm.
kids riding their bikes and everything. Um, and I have a funny story about that. But once it gets to Aerith and she does her praying, and then it goes like basically 1-to-1 from to the original cutscene, and you like see the city on the plate, and it's like it's living, it's breathing. You can see cars driving on the highways. You can see the reactors like functioning. You know what I mean? Like you could
Right.
see the city living and breathing. And for the longest time, like that could never be a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like especially on a PlayStation 1 in 1997. It
Right.
just was not a thing. And so
Nah.
seeing that reimagined, seeing those big buildings, like there's a building with like two columns and a clock in the middle, and like seeing it pan out from that, it's just like, oh my god. And then you actually go to that building just like you did in the original. Like understanding that you are in a game that has a lot of love in it, that was a big thing for me.
Yes.
After that, it was probably getting to Sector 5,
Mm.
the church and all that, but escaping on the rooftops. I liked how it showed you how densely packed everything was in that slum. And like it really felt like a slum. And then, of course, and I know you had the same exact reaction when that Sector 5 music comes in. Oh my God, dude. Like, I
Favorite
could
song.
not believe the recreation of some of the music in this game is legendary. Even the new tracks are great.
Yeah.
But like that, I always forget the actual name of that song. But yeah, I think it's called like the Rotting Pizza or something like that.
I think it is actually called that. I've been calling it the Sector 6 or Sector 5 slums for the longest time because that's like when it plays. And I never knew it
Yeah,
actually had
underneath the
an
Rotting Pizza.
underneath the rotting pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable moment where like you just put the controller down and you just like jam out to it for a minute, and you're just
Yes.
like, wow, okay, they get it. You know what I mean? Like they get like the music in 1997, and like all the way up to like Final Fantasy X was always like MIDI music. You know, like Final Fantasy X was the first time we had like a fully orchestrated OST.
Mm-hmm.
9 was getting there, but 10 was really like, no, like we're gonna release this as an album. You know what I mean? Like all soundtracks came out, but you know what I mean? Like fully
Yeah.
orchestrated was the first in 10, and like seeing how they orchestrated MIDI music while still retaining that charm
Yes.
of like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's so good.
They all the songs had it in it.
Yeah, yeah, they get it. After that, it might have been, so there were a couple story moments that really stuck out to me. Aerith rescuing Marlene was very, very emotional.
That was.
Yeah, that like, I'm a big softie. Like, I know your followers don't know who I am, but like, I'm a very big softie. Like, I cried during that. Like, that was tough. I really liked how much love they gave to the Avalanche members, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. You know, going to Jesse's parents' house, seeing her dad, he got macro poisoning. Also, by the way, the little bit of lore in that little sequence where she says, "My mom believes that his spirit is trapped between this world and the next," and like that's what happens to Cloud later on in the original.
What?
Yeah, like after he gives Sephiroth the black materia, and then like Sephiroth comes crashing down, throws him into the life stream, and then he washes up in the town of Mideel. He's like all messed up. Like he can't talk, he can't function, he's in a wheelchair, like he is messed up. And he has Mako poisoning. And then through some weird thing that you do with Tifa and Cloud, you go into the live stream and like put Cloud's soul and memories back together.
What?
And so like,
And this is in the
yeah,
original?
this is in the original.
Holy
so
shit.
like, yeah, you got to finish the game, dude.
Oh
but like
my god.
them talking about how this is like a known theory when somebody gets Mako poisoning, like what happens? Because we've seen it happen in the original. So like that, and that's such a missable thing. Like it's literally 2 lines that Jesse says as you're making your way to that other facility.
Right.
So yeah, the love they gave Avalanche was really great. And then I think like the final big set piece was Shinra Tower. Like when you finally finish climbing up
Dude, yes.
the destroyed Sector 7 plate, and then you like arrive at Shinra Tower. And they actually put this in the game. Like this moment is in the game. You know what I mean? Like Cloud looking up and being like, okay, this is it.
This
like
is
you know
it.
you're at the end of the game, but like they still added so much to that building while keeping so much together, like the same. You go through like a museum experience that was so
That
sick.
was
Like it's just like
one of the best
it's like
parts.
Disneyland. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you go to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, you can like take the Hershey factory tour and find out how to make chocolate, and it's literally the same thing. It's like a weird automated voice talking to you. That planetarium thing, I'm not joking to you. With that planetarium presentation that you get about like the Cetra, I'm almost positive they hired the narrator of the Griffith Observatory Planetarium in Los Angeles. It
Really,
sounded like I've heard that voice before.
dude.
Like it was so good. So yeah, like those like those moments where they fleshed everything out was really really cool. Those are like my favorite parts.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on like everything on that because like I'm just thinking back because it's been not a full week yet, but in a few days it'll be a full week since I've literally touched the game. I've been recouping. Which
Mm-hmm.
I am physically okay for those that are wondering because I've been on hiatus off the streams because after that 27-hour stream, I was like, okay, like I need some time away. You guys, if you haven't checked that video out when I talk about the good and the bad of the game, like please go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and check that out. But as far as the points, the good points, like so one of the things I was worried about with the original into the remake was actually the Shinra Tower. And I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up because from my memory, and this is only not even a year ago, but like last year when I was playing through that part, Shinra Tower for me was like it was it was almost like not annoying, but it was just like, man, I gotta go to this floor, then I go to that floor, and I
Yeah.
gotta go through the ducts, and I gotta go through like all these like cubicles, and like
Mm-hmm.
there's like I think there's like you can miss out on getting Red 13 or like he wasn't
No.
like no? Okay, all right. So maybe yeah, cuz I thought cuz the way my chat made it seem to me when I was playing it, they made it seem that like oh like make sure you get Red 13 cuz like you can miss them cuz like there's
No.
other characters
They were
later
trolling you.
on. Yeah. They were trolling
The
me.
only people you can miss are Yuffie and Vincent.
Okay, yeah. Because that's who they were talking about. Because they were like, there's characters later that you could miss, so don't miss Red 13. And I was like, all right. So you
No,
get
he's
13. So this whole time, even in my stream, you can hear me say it. I was like, I hope that he's not an optional character. And then as soon as I saw
yeah.
the short glimpse that when Red 13 was in the tube, I was like, yes. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
he's in the game. Like I was excited. Um,
How did you feel about him not being playable?
you know what? At first, like jet react or like knee jerk reaction. Like I was like, what? He's not playable. But then I realized that is divisive. And what I mean by that's gonna make people be more excited for part two. Like just it's like one of the reasons, not like the
Sure.
reason, but like one of the reasons why. Because I think I feel like out of the whole plan to just make this a reality, like this remake a reality, the reality is if they were gonna give us the original game all at once, I feel like we wouldn't have been playing it. We probably would have had to wait until the PlayStation 6 to
Yeah.
play the
It's gonna be a
full
while,
game,
dude.
And I think it was smart to give it to us in like sections. And like this is a nice, perfect, big first
Oh,
section.
it's a meaty section.
Yeah, like it's so me. Got the A1 sauce, all that. It
Yes.
has all of it.
I just had sloppy Joe tonight, bro.
Yeah, so you already know. You
Yeah.
already know firsthand. And like as far as him not being playable, I was like, you know what? I'm totally okay with it, and I'm totally okay with him just being there, being a part of the story, playing the role that he plays. And I have a pretty bold, like prediction, I guess, that like I know that he's gonna be playable in the next part.
Okay.
So
That was my
like
next question is do you think he will be playable in the next one?
yeah, cause yeah, going along with what I'm saying, like I feel like out of everything that they were working on, with producing this game, I feel like they had the idea like okay, like we already know going forward, like there's only gonna be 4 playable characters, and that's
Mm-hmm.
Cloud, Barret, Tifa, and Aerith, right? And
Yeah.
you're basically just gonna like it's gonna focus around those four. And I also felt like you didn't really get a lot of Aerith time. Then
No.
yeah, you don't get a lot of Aerith time, and it does hurt a little bit towards the end because everyone's like so like like the levels and like everything like all the upgrades and all that kind of stuff with the weapons and stuff. You have more um more likeliness that you'll have all your stuff up to level to where you're at. But then like once you get Aerith back, it's like oh like yeah like she has like all these points for like her weapons, but you still have to use those weapons to get the
Yes.
proficiency. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, dude, all of the layers that they added to this remake that wasn't a part of the original, it just keeps on adding to the overall experience of this game just being like the best game ever.
Yeah, I had 2 or 3 weapons for Aerith that she still like. So I have just today, like I did on my stream, gone back and started on hard mode, and like I just I hadn't even really started hard mode. I tried to do chapter 1 on hard mode and failed because I couldn't kill the guard scorpion in time.
All right.
So I went back, grinded to level 50, which is the max level, and I still had 3 weapons with Aerith that I never even used. And the reason for that is because I bought them and forgot. And like when I got Aerith back in Shinra, I just didn't even think about it. So I was still using, I think, her bladed rod or bladed staff or something like that. Like I still had 3 weapons that she had never even used.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely felt like Aerith like kind of got the short end of the stick. But if they're recreating the original experience, that makes perfect sense because you only use her for a very short period of time. I mean, in the game as a whole, you use her the least, but
Right.
for obvious reasons. But like, yeah, you don't use her after you first find her. It's a little weird.
Yeah, so like, and then another point that I wanted to throw out there was like, cause I know that even if it's like, so like we didn't get a lot of playing time with her in the main game. I know that post Midgar, like you get plenty of time playing.
Oh yeah, she's always in my party until she dies.
Yeah, like you're the one that back in the day you told me you were like Aerith is the best character in the game, and like you loaded up a save and you showed me some crazy shit that she could do, and I was like,
Oh yeah, great
yeah,
gospel.
yeah, yeah. Like I haven't even gotten that part. Like, but even in my save, like from my experience playing on my Switch, I literally have Aerith with the Matra magic. Like that's the
Oh
enemy
sure.
skill. And just off of seeing that, I'm like, dude, she's the best character because she's like your healer, and yet this Matra magic move that she has literally destroys everybody. And it's like a multi-hit move. I'm like, come on,
Yeah,
like
it's an enemy skill.
exactly. So yeah, like that was something that my chat had to shout out to me to make sure that I had in my original game. So I was like, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, you
She
learn
does
that from the little gopher enemies
that.
in the
Mm-hmm.
original game near the Chocobo farm.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion of there only being 3 enemy skills in the game?
So that's something I didn't even really notice, to be honest, because like I do have the materia, and I actually equipped it thinking like, oh yeah, like I'm about to get Matra magic, like, and I totally forget like I don't get that until after Midgar. So I was like, ah shit, I'm not gonna get it in this game
Sorry,
anyway.
there's 4. My bad. Just 4.
There's four.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Still.
yeah, but the only one I got to learn was self destruct.
Yeah, from the bomb.
So like
And I think you learned that. Where are the bombs? Oh, I think they're in the tunnel going to Wall Market, if I remember correctly.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was to me, like I said, like to me, like I wasn't really. I looked at that materia and like that, like you can only learn four. I looked at it as like a gimmick in a sense because there's like a lot of other things that I put my focus on when it came down to like getting my right materia combos on and all that kind of stuff, and and realizing that my enemy skill, like the only thing I learned was self destruct. I was like, I'm not gonna worry about this skill right now. So, um,
Yeah, it was a little frustrating to me because, like, you do get that materia very late
mhm.
in the game, and you actually get it late. You get it around the same time, I think, in the original. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it shows up, and I'm like testing my knowledge here. It shows up after the pillar falls, and you go to Wall Market with Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett. It's in the playground. I think that's where it is the first time. So you do get it very late, and you don't learn very many, if at all any, maybe one or two in Midgar. So like it makes
Okay.
sense in this game that there aren't much, but we were also getting materia in this game that you do not get for a long time in the original. Leviathan is a hidden summon that you get for completing all of Yuffie's side quests. Like that is a very, very late game materia that is completely optional. Granted, it's optional here, but like if you're doing the battle intels for Chadley, who is the gangster of this game, the Chadster,
The
um,
Chadster.
like you're gonna come across Leviathan at some point.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, you get Leviathan, you get time magic, you get what's it called? The D barrier materia to like break barriers. Yeah, you get like very late game materia in remake. So I'm wondering what the new materia is going to be in the next one.
Do you think that they'll introduce new materia like that we've never seen before?
I mean, dude, they did it in this game. There's plenty of new materia in this game. A lot of it's the independent materia, the purple stuff.
Mm.
I don't think there's so air spells are new to this game. I think I don't think that there were any air spells in the original. If there was, it was on the final magic materia, which had Ultima and Flare. I don't think there was any air spells in the original. I could be mistaken. But yeah, like Arrow was not in the original. Like that core magic, air magic was not in there.
So like wind, you saying, or something else?
Yeah, like the wind materia that has
Okay.
Arrow,
Right.
Aurora, and
Yeah.
Aroaga.
Okay. Okay.
That was not in the original.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
think
like a
so.
Final Fantasy 9 magic or something like that.
Yeah, I was too distracted by just everything else going on in the game. I was like, this looks and sounds like phenomenal. How did you feel about the lack of victory fanfare and what they decided to do instead of the victory fanfare for the majority of the game?
Oh, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
They took it right out of 15, where like in 15, I think it's Prompto does the da 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 da. So I was totally fine with it. And Barrett, like I'm gonna be honest with you, I was worried about Barrett in this game. The first couple trailers showed him as like a real Mr. T kind of dude, and I felt that that was really playing into the stereotype. And he sounded very gruff, and like I was very, very worried about him. And I think they did a great job. And I think him delivering that line of the victory fanfare was perfect. So
Dude, Barrow's my favorite character.
yeah,
He was like, he made me laugh so many times. I thought his dialogue was like pretty spot on, and like
yeah,
how his voice actor like basically like gave the lines to us. He did an amazing job, and like it felt really real. And the fact that he kept that victory fanfare alive until you get to like the tournament part, like later in the game, like where they naturally play after you win. I I I thought it was awesome. Like I thought he was awesome, and I thought
yeah.
how they handled the use of the soundtrack music, like when you're about to get into a battle and then when you battle, like it just everything was so seamless from cutscene to battle. That was also one of my favorite parts of the game. Like
I
there
thought
was
the
a
combat system was incredible.
yeah, like I felt like there was no kind of loading times aside from like when you're going
No,
from big part to big part, and even at that point it felt like it was necessary. But that also adds to the whole like this game was very hard to put down because you're just going from event to event to event, and the cutscenes literally transition literally right into playing. And I felt like that was like definitely part of like one of the better parts of the game for sure.
yeah, and there was only I think 3 CG cutscenes. There was the opening cutscene, then there was the planetarium cutscene. There was the Sector 7 pillar cutscene, and then the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe like one or two interspersed between those, but the rest of it was all in engine. So I was really, really happy with that.
I honestly,
Not to change, not to
oh
interrupt
sorry.
you or anything, but I just looked up the original materia, and there is a wind spell, and it is on that piece of materia that I thought it was on. It's called, where did it go? It's called Tornado. So it's
Okay.
on the contained materia, which you get in Medeal, and it has freeze, break, tornado, flare, and yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
it's a wind attack.
Okay, so it wasn't
We
the
didn't
original.
we didn't get Quake in this game though.
Right. I didn't even realize that. That's very true. That probably would have came in real handy though, because
Oh yeah.
I would have used my Pokemon logic. I'm like, well, if it's on the ground, it's probably weak to to, to this. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um. So we talked about all the good. So let's transition real quick. What would you consider the bad parts of this game, if any,
Um.
or things you didn't like?
Yeah. So, um, what were the bad parts? So outside, I don't think there was anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to talk about the ending because I think this was like 38 hours of perfection of like this is the way you remake a game, and
Exactly.
then the final 2 hours was just like, what am I doing? Like, why is any of this happening? I'm not.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't hate it. You know what I mean? I don't hate it,
Yeah.
and I'm excited for what it all means, and I'm excited to see what we're doing in part two. But like, yeah, like I was not anticipating a change of this magnitude at the end there, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of things happened in the last 2 hours between the last two boss fights, and the cutscenes in between that felt very much like out of nowhere.
Mm.
And I feel like they started too many extra storylines that have probably will not get resolved for another 2 years.
Mm.
And yeah, that did bother me.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. The only bad parts that I would have to say would only just be like anything that honestly, it was like really stuff towards the end too, like how I felt like they just kind of stacked all these boss battles so close to each other. Like I felt like they just had like so many, like there was no chill at all. Like, and right when you thought you were done,
Yeah.
you went right into another one.
Yeah, I mean especially the final two fights, like I really feel like when you get to the executive suite in Shinra Tower, you fight Genova Dreamweaver, you fight Rufus, you fight Arsenal, you do the highway chase, you fight Motorball, then you fight the last two bosses, and it's like the last 4 hours of that game are ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's nonstop.
Yeah, it killed me. It kept me going. I was like, I have
Yeah.
no stopping point, and I told you guys I was gonna beat this, and here I am, like hour 23 or whatever, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely crazy.
Yeah. It does make me worry like how they're gonna resolve all this because there's a lot to unpack in that ending. I don't know if you want to get into it, but like the like so much cryptic stuff was introduced there, and it would be fine if we were getting more than just Midgar in this one game. But it almost feels like they wrote all of that. Like it worries me that they wrote this ending and scripted the scenario this way, um, only for it to not get resolved. Like it worries me that they don't know how it's going to end.
Mm,
Like, it worries me that they don't know how they want to end it.
okay.
And so, will this all actually get tidied up and wrapped up in a bow? Because there's certain things about the first game that are still unresolved that are a little frustrating. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it just makes me worry. Like I felt like this game was a huge opportunity for them to like fix the translation problems, which resulted in a lot of like story plot holes in the translations, um, and like better flesh out characters and the storyline. And it feels like they did all that wonderfully for 38 hours. And then the last 2 hours, they just introduced a bunch of plot points that they probably don't know how they're going to end.
So you feel like based on what happens at the end of the remake, you feel like because of how crazy it is, they might not address all of those things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I worry that they haven't written the ending to this yet,
Okay.
or they've like written the ending and they're kind of just figuring out how they get there as they go. Like that's what I'm saying. Like first 38 hours felt so tight and so well done because like every thread of the storyline outside of like what are these whispers, every thread of those storylines, we know how they're going to end. Like we know the resolutions to them.
Yeah.
Nothing new was introduced until the end outside of the whispers,
Yeah.
you know. And like we have been told by Nomura that the compilation Final Fantasy VII, which is before Crisis, Crisis Core, Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, like those are not canon anymore. So knowing that, we can also tell, like, it leads to confusion of like, are we picking and is Nomura picking and choosing what he wants out of those, other pieces of the lore? Because if you remember, when Hojo is like interviewing, or when Hojo is in the boardroom meeting, the director's meeting, President Shinra asks how things are going. He says, great, we have a lot of research to do. We're finding out a lot about the ancients, but we may be limited by time, so we may have to consider breeding. And then he says, in the original game, he says that he's going to breed Aerith with Red 13. But then in this version, he says we can breed her with, I think, soldiers that have G cells and S cells,
that's what I remember,
which are Genova cells and Sephiroth cells. And that's from Crisis Core. Like that is the whole point of Crisis Core. That's a huge piece of Crisis Core right there. And so like they're sort of like dropping that information in. And let's face it, it makes way more sense to like not have her do it with a dog.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird.
Sense. Yeah. But it's just like, so are we going to then explore the Genesis project and like the overall Soldier project, or is that just going to be like a throwaway line that never gets addressed again? And like those little changes I'm perfectly fine with, but yeah, it just feels like they introduce a lot, and I'm wondering if they even know where it's going.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually wanted to also talk about this with you, and I feel like because this is a remake, and now people are kind of calling it a requel or a reboot, more or less.
Requel, that's a really, really good way of saying it.
Yeah, like because of those things, and because Nomura basically said that all of the previous like iterations of the story, whether it was Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, or even Advent Children, not being canon anymore, and seeing how they're literally throwing Zack in the fucking game.
Yes. Dude. In the exact same cutscene from the ending.
I'm telling you right now, man. I think that even with him saying that, I don't think people have anything to worry about, because I feel like they are going to pick and choose. Like they're going to take the things from the past works, and they are somehow gonna, because that also acknowledges the fans, like myself included, that are wondering like, yo, are they gonna do a Crisis Core remake? Are they gonna do a Dirge remake? Are they gonna do Advent Children remake? And the answer is they're not, but they are with this new game. But it's like they're giving us a white lie, because like this game is introducing all these new story points, and like the fact that people are already theorizing that Sephiroth is already aware of what's going down, and like he's gonna try to like shift it to his will or what he wants to happen or something. It just makes me feel like there's a high chance that we will see I'm telling you right now, Zack is gonna be a playable character. Something's gonna happen.
No way.
Yo,
maybe in a flashback, but I don't think he's ever gonna like join the party.
That would, dude. Cause another thing is that I know that this is a big thing for a lot of Final Fantasy fans, and I actually had on another podcast that I'm a part of, which was a radio show, but it's a podcast now. One of the co-hosts' friends, we had him on as a guest, and he was a big Final Fantasy head, and he was telling us like his story and his come up on why Final Fantasy VII is the best game ever out of all the Final Fantasies that he's ever played. And and I was so intrigued by this guy. Like, John, you have no idea. Like, I was not talking at all. I was like this by my mic, just like listening. And like I would ask him all the questions. Like after he would give me like story length answers. And I didn't know this. And apparently back in the day, there was a community of fans that found out that there was a possibility that Aerith could live or get brought back. But wait, hold on. Because so in his story, he was saying how that there was fans that spoke about this, and that apparently there was some some way to possibly have this done in the Japanese version.
It's called a Game Shark.
Right.
There is no such way to do it.
I know, but like, so the whole point is he ended up he imported the game. He imported a PlayStation, right? He tries all these different methods and these rumors that, he was read up online or whatever back in the day. And obviously it turns out that it is not possible, right? That's clear. It's 2020 now. There's no secret. This shit is not possible, right? Aerith gets stabbed. She's dead. It's over.
She is canonically dead.
Yeah, right? She is dead. However, he also shared how, like, lots of fans that they've publicly said that, like, they would all love for Aerith to somehow be brought back, right? So, with this game, seeing as how we could, like, anything is possible, I feel like.
Right, yeah, now.
You know? I feel like anything is possible, and the fact that, and I don't remember this being in the original, so you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the one line where she was talking to Cloud in the remake, and she was talking to Cloud, and she was talking about her first love, and he goes, "Who was your first love?"
Yes.
And then
she says the name, but you don't hear it.
She says the name, you don't hear it. And then he has the reaction in his head. And I'm just like, oh my God, it was Zach. And I never played Crisis Core. And I was like, it has to be.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know.
Okay, it's a shame you didn't play further in the original.
Uh-huh.
Because all of that information is in the original. There's a couple different places where it happens. So so there's a village right before Cosmo Canyon called Gongaga, and that is where Zack is from. And if Aerith is in your party when you go there, she will start to ask people in the town, have you ever heard of somebody named Zack? And I think people tell her no, or like nobody really answers her. And then after she dies, you wake up in Gongaga. Like, is that when it happens? There's some point where like the party goes to Gongaga, and I'm pretty sure it's like shortly after she dies, and you meet Zack's parents, and they tell you, yeah, our son was a soldier. His name was Zack. Blah 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 blah. Like, you learn the story, and then if you return to Nibelheim on disc 2 or later, after you regain control of Cloud, and you go to the Shinra Mansion basement, you get a secret cutscene that shows Zack dying. And him trying to rescue Cloud, and he's on the truck going back to Midgar, and like, this is all in the game. So,
oh man, I didn't know.
The Japanese version glitch you're talking about, I know the exact rumor. It was either the Japanese PS1 version or the square box, or no, the rhombus box, the triangle box PC version. That's how it could happen. And the reason for those rumors is because if you use a Game Shark and you put Aerith in your party past the point where she's dead, there are 2 instances where she has lines. Like, she has 2 lines programmed in the game after she's dead. One is in the snowfields, in the, like near Icicle Village, like when you're traversing through the snowfields, when you get to the shack, and the guy like tells you how to plant flags or whatever, she has a line there. And then there's one other place, I think, when everybody's jumping back into Midgar. And the other weird thing is that when you're jumping back into Midgar and everybody's on the deck of the Highwind, there's an empty space for another character. And like, if you put Aerith back in your party, she stands there.
See? Dude, if I was around this time, I would have thought the same shit. I literally...
Yeah, dude, I absolutely believed it. And the other weird thing is that if you go back to Midgar after she dies, and you go back to the church, because you get a key to go back to Midgar. You can go back to Sector 5 and Wall Market, and that's how you get Tifa's ultimate weapon. So if you go back to the church after this point, you see like a flashing image of Aerith. It's like her spirit. And then it just goes away. And then like some kids are saying, yeah, the flower lady was here. Like, so there's like weird things that happen. But she is supposed to be dead. But that's the source of the rumors.
So, okay. Thank you for that clarification, because...
No problem.
You know what that means to me, man? To me, that sounds like back in the day, Nomura and the gang, the team, right? They were making this story, and and it sounds like they wanted to bring her back, but they didn't know how.
I don't think that's the case. I think the real case is that they program the scenario in a different order. Like she
Okay.
always died, but things happened in a different order. Like you went to the snowfield and then you died, or
Mm.
and then she died, or like you went back to Midgar and then she died. Like I think she was always meant to die
Uh-huh.
because like it's so tied into the story of like her casting Holy and Sephiroth. You know, like she's in the credits. You know what I mean? Like when the live stream comes out of the ground, like Marlene is in calm and she like wakes up and she says the flower girl, and then like she knows that Aerith is all around them. Like she's always meant to be dead.
Okay.
She's gonna
Okay.
die.
She well, even that's what I'm saying. Like, even if she does, I don't know, man. I feel like anything could happen, and it would definitely make a lot of people happy. And I feel, and with all of these things that's going on with other like forms of media, games, anime, like if there's a desire, a want, like look, like this game is a reality right now, and I
Yes,
feel like
it's a
if
real thing.
it,
We've
and
played it.
I feel like if there was an idea that fans for so many years would be discussing and talking about when the game wasn't even a thing as far as the remake goes, and now we have the remake, and now we see that damn, like they're really throwing us all these curveballs because we didn't expect half of the stuff that's happening in the remake to happen, from his existence all the way to the stuff with Sephiroth and all of the little surprises that we got in the game. I'm just saying, I think I'm gonna have my mind opened completely to the like because as soon as like yeah because I was thinking there definitely will I'm predicting there will most likely definitely be a part where we will get to play as Zack at some point, even
Okay.
if it is like a like a backstory kind of mission
Or
kind of
like an
thing.
alternate timeline kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever. Like if they literally let us do that, like they let us play a mission as Zack, like for story purposes to get like the full story of whatever the scenario is going on, that would be awesome. That would be godlike, and that would literally be like their answer to being like, well, you don't have to play Crisis Core now because you said before because you
Yes.
you were like the whole point of Crisis Core. One of the bigger points was like the whole S cell G cell thing, right?
Yes. It's a huge, huge part of that story.
Yeah, so like if dude, like they could if they can make it work, which I have all confidence that they can. Like I think that we might be in for a really really awesome part 2 whenever that comes around and beyond. And who knows? I like Aerith could definitely die, but man, maybe there's something about this story, this whole remake, this requel that brings her back, brings Zack back. They can live happily ever after. All that.
Yeah. So, what do you think about like the alternate timeline thing? Like, because the very last scene in the credits is Zack and Cloud surviving and walking
Right.
into Midgar.
It makes me question, is he actually dead?
Yeah, I think he is dead in the timeline that we are playing in, but there's going to be some sort of mechanic in the next game or just the next part of the story where like there's two things happening at the same time. Because when the harbinger explodes, you know what I mean, like when the ghosts explode, we see like those white snowflakes happening in our timeline and in his new timeline. So like
Yeah.
something is going to change, but I do think that the events will play out how they're supposed to because when you're on the highway and you're right about to go into the portal and like Aerith sees Sephiroth, she says you're wrong. Everything about you is wrong. Like she knows that in my opinion, total theory,
Mm-hmm.
she knows that he should not be here. Like like this event should not be happening. And like I think Red 13 knows it too, or he knows it because Aerith is telling him. Like, yeah, like I just don't. I just I think she knows she's supposed to die, and I think she knows that she should die. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think she's hiding from it. You know, I think she's like ready to do it. Um, I don't know. It's very 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 weird and interesting.
Because she's all about returning to the planet kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. She's very she's always she has definitely showed us that she's been all about that.
yeah. All right, so I do have a question for you. And this is the only question I have for you.
Okay.
When you fought Abzu, the sewers boss, after Don Corneo,
Okay.
who did you talk to first when they were laying on the ground? Did you talk to Tifa or did you talk to Aerith?
Okay, so
And I have a follow-up question that goes with this.
for story purposes, I looked at that scenario. I was like, when I was streaming this, I was like, oh man, this is a choice. Like,
Yes.
this could very much alter the freaking game, right? So knowing that Aerith is Zach's girl, I was like, I'm gonna go to Tifa.
Okay.
I went to Tifa because I was like, okay, even though like, you know, people online like to make fun and be like, yo, Cloud got 3 girls, this is a harem, whatever, right? He's getting all these people. But the reality is, okay, Jessie was a flirt, but everyone loved Jessie when she died, right? Okay. Sucks, but it happened, right? So she was a flirt, so
is she dead? Because Biggs is alive.
Right, exactly. It was like Biggs survived, so maybe that'll be a surprise later on, right? So then with Aerith, it was like, you know, Aerith and Cloud, they kind of like, I mean, Cloud obviously, when you see an attractive, even a friend of yours, and she's wearing a nice dress and they look attractive, like Cloud was like, whoa, like he was like pretty stunned, right? But even then, like it would their relationship was very like wholesome and friendly kind of thing, and Aerith cares for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
She cares for everybody, and Tifa and Cloud, they actually have a history, and he made a promise to her to like be her hero and protect her, or whatever. So I went with Tifa because of that. I was like, I'm gonna make sure this timeline happens. So I picked Tifa instead of Aerith.
Okay, so now my next question for you is, after you rescue Wedge from the underground facility and you bring him back to Aerith's house, Cloud goes to sleep, and then he wakes up and talks to who?
If I can even remember this. After he wakes up, doesn't he talk to Aerith's mom?
No. He like goes outside at night.
He talks
like,
to
the
Tifa.
flower garden. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I chose to speak to Aerith first. Before the Abzu fight. And then Cloud dreamed he was talking to Aerith outside, not Tifa. So this is like something that can be different.
Oh.
And I'm unsure if that's the only choice that makes that happen.
Okay.
But yeah, and in this dream, it is a dream. So like when Cloud goes out and talks to Aerith, that actually happens. Because the immediate scene after that is Barrett, Cloud, and Tifa like downstairs talking to Aerith's mom.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to Aerith, it's a dream. And she says like, you can't fall in love with me. And yeah, she says like some heavy shit.
Wait, this is in the game? Like, in the remake?
This is in the game. This is what happened to me. So
what?
Yeah, so next time you play it, you got to do it different. So she says you can't fall in love with me, and then he goes to touch her, and she's not real. And then like she goes away, and then he wakes up, and then you go downstairs. So he really talks to Tifa, but he can also dream about Aerith, and it's unclear if like she was communicating to him some way,
dude,
or if it was just a dream.
I'm telling you, Zach is gonna come into the game, bro. He's coming. He's coming. They're making sure that players know, even through the secret alternate scenarios that happen, that I can't wait for this all to happen. So wrapping up, I want to also ask, when do you think part 2 is gonna come?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I had assumed that we would get a trailer around the time the PS5 came out. But I think because of everything going on right now with COVID-19, it's getting pushed back. I know that Square's Japan office did have a case of coronavirus, so it's basically shut down. Everybody's working from home.
Right.
I think we'll get it within 2 years. So like April 2022.
Okay.
Because it's going to be on Unreal Engine. It's going to be PS5. Like, you know what I mean? It's probably already been in development. You know, like I'm sure the scenario's written, the characters are already made, the mechanics are already there. I hope to God they don't change the battle system or anything like that, like they did from 13 to 13.2 to 13.3. Like those were literally 3 different games with
Wow.
3 different battle systems and 3 different worlds. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
So I hope that they just keep the battle system, keep the materia system. I hope they just like build on those systems in a way. Something that a friend of mine mentioned was in Final. Did you ever play Final Fantasy X?
No. I have the
Okay.
I have the remaster on my PS4. I never played it though.
Okay, so Final Fantasy X is turn-based, but it is not ATB. Instead, you have a list on the side of the screen that shows you the order in which everybody's going to attack.
Right.
So it'll say like Tidus, enemy A, Yuna, Waka, enemy B, enemy A. Like it shows you everything.
Right.
And then like if you go to cast haste on somebody before you actually cast it on them, it may change the order to show you the outcome of how this will work. Like if you cast haste, this is how the battle will change. But it also allowed you to change party members mid-battle. Okay. So I think they might add that. And that was a theory that a friend of mine had, that because this game does have so many characters, and for a large portion of the game, you have all those characters at once, you may be able to keep changing them out like whenever you want. Yeah, so I think that's the only thing they should really change is let you pick and choose party members mid-battle.
Okay.
And because, and sorry, I hate interrupting you, but like the other thing that I want to say was, for the last part of Shinra Tower, when you have everybody in your party, Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, Aerith, Red 13, they're all following you at the same time. Like the whole 5-man squad is following you. So like the game can support it. You know what I mean? Like there's only 3 other characters. Right?
What, like out of the whole gang?
Yeah. Yeah, there's Sid, Vincent, and Yuffie. Those are the only 3 other characters. So like they already have 5 on the screen. They can have 8, and we're gonna have 1 less at some point. So like, I really believe like when you're walking around that world map, hopefully it's open world. You're gonna see everybody and be able to pick whoever you want mid battle. I think that would work out the best.
So you think that would work out, even though in this version it's not turn-based? Because what you describe makes sense for a turn-based game, but like since this is like it's more along the lines of real time, even though you do have to wait to do your like unique attacks and whatnot with that gauge. I feel like that would almost kind of be pointless unless you played with the turn-based mode on.
No, I think you'll just be able to switch out characters like mid-fight. And I think that the fights will be balanced around that.
Okay.
Like the fights in this game are balanced around the new abilities, and they're balanced around how everybody works now. Like I remember one of the biggest things people were concerned about was when the demo first came out, or like when the PAX demo happened and the footage started coming out about that, Cloud and Barrett had like 2,000 HP right from the start. You know what I mean? Like they had a lot of health.
Right.
And so people were saying like, oh, why do you have so much health at level 6? You know, like beginning of the game, you shouldn't have so much health. And like Barrett is doing way too much damage because now he's like firing a bunch of shots. And it's like, yeah, but it's all very balanced. Each shot from Barrett's only doing 10 damage.
Right.
You know, like you got to really dump some bullets into these things in order to kill them.
Right.
So it is very balanced. You know what I mean? Like, see, I think it'll be fine. You get to switch out characters, and maybe the fights will be balanced around that, where like they expect you to have to switch out characters, and like some fights will only work with Sid in the party because he has the harpoon or spear. So like they may introduce like piercing damage. Like you've got to like break the shell.
Yeah. You
can only use Sid to do that. Like weird things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I would say as far as when I would want or think the next part would be, because I was thinking like, oh man, like what would get players to buy a PS5 at launch? And it would be in a perfect world, having part 2 as one of the launch titles for PS5 literally this year towards holiday season would be the best thing ever. Now, if you tell me,
I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, if you tell me that if they do that, but then the game gets rushed and it's not as good, then I would not want that at all. Because as you could see, this was what, when they announced it that it was already in development, in 2015 at E3, and this game came out literally 5 years after that.
Right.
And look how amazing this game was. Like, I kind of question when or if they've even started production on part two, and how
They
far
have.
they've gone along.
They
So
said they have.
yeah, okay.
They haven't said like what they're doing. They just said yeah, like work has begun on it. So, but I feel like they're over the first big hump, right? Like they've designed the characters. They already have the scenario. Hopefully, now it's just time to like design those environments. And you asked me about the bad of this game, and this is one thing that I forgot, but it did drive me nuts. Some of these places look like shit. Like
Really?
Shinra Tower was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Everything was flawless in there. But the slums, and it's not like, yeah, you're living in a slum, it's going to look bad. I mean, the textures looked muddy as hell.
Really?
They were so low res. It was like jarring to see like this beautiful Cloud or Aerith or Tifa or Barret talking to you. And it's like, damn, you look so lifelike. You look incredible. And then like right behind them is this blurry mess of a wall. And like the texture is like incomplete. So when this game comes out on PC next year, I think it's going to like, we're really going to see how this thing should look.
Oh yeah,
and hopefully the PS5 does the same.
It is going to be on I forgot cuz like they did say play it first, not exclusive to PS4. They say
yeah, and it said it on the wrapper of the game too. Like 1 year PlayStation exclusive.
Word. So damn, but so would you replay 7 on PC in a heartbeat? I feel like I might do that too.
I don't think I would do it in like a week. You know, I wouldn't do it in the time that I did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely play it again just to see how it is. And hopefully it'd be really cool if there's like a cross save kind of situation.
That was the last thing I was going to say. I was going to be like, and last, I just want to say that whatever they decide to do, I hope that all of our progress and everything that we've done with the first part is transferable. Like levels, materia, equipment, all that.
Yeah. I think it'll scale. Because the max level in this game is 50. Okay. So I'm anticipating you start at like, if you do have a save, you start at like level 25 or something, or level 30.
Totally fine.
Yeah, and you keep your materia and, and all that.
Yeah.
I am intrigued to see how that works.
Yeah, because
in MMOs, a lot of times they do like, they call it like a level squish, where like the max level goes from, World of Warcraft is doing this right now, where like max level is about to go from 120 to 60. And like, if you're 120 now, you'll start the next expansion at 50 and then play 50 to 60 in the next expansion. So like there are ways to do this. I just hope that you keep your materia, you keep your weapons, you keep all the work you did, you know what I mean? I just hope that like the stats get smaller.
Right.
And you just kind of continue, and there's still like a ramp in difficulty. Like I hope if you finish this game at max level, part 2, the beginning game is very easy. Kind of like a reward.
Yeah.
And then it just like flips the switch and it's like, okay, we're playing a real game again.
Yeah, that would actually be the best thing to happen, because I would not mind like maxing all my characters out right now. Like it's almost like optimizing. Like you're optimizing it so that way by the time you get to the next part, then you'll, even if they were to nerf your level, like they could still keep the light, like HP and MP, like all that kind of stuff, like the same, but then like, you're obviously gonna have to work up towards whatever the max level in that game is too. So
I'm wondering, what would the first boss be of part 2?
Dude, I wouldn't even. I don't even remember, because I remember, like I said, like I remember the last thing I vividly remember is the Red 13 backstory, and I know I did a little bit past that. I don't know what, and I don't even remember the bosses. You know what? Maybe it could be one of those dragons or whatever that appear in the wild. If you remember if you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe it was in a cave. I don't even remember. It's just
what?
I don't. Dude, I remember you battling a dragon.
Okay, so I think I may know what you're talking about. So after Midgar in the original game, you go to Calm, and then Cloud tells the backstory of him and Sephiroth.
Oh,
and
that's what it was.
The first thing you do is like you fight a dragon in the rain.
Yes.
And then it one-shots Cloud.
Yes.
And Sephiroth one-shots the dragon.
Yes. It had like it did like 6,000 damage or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one hit. He cast. So at that time, you probably only have like, this is an issue that I have with Final Fantasy since I think Final Fantasy VIII. in Final Fantasies 1 through 6, your lightning magic was called Bolt. And it was Bolt 1, Bolt 2, or it was Bolt, Bolt 2, Bolt 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then they changed it to Thunder, which makes no sense because thunder is a noise. Like, it is not something you can scientifically see.
Uh-huh.
And I hate it. Anyway, so at that stage, when you get to Calm in the first game, you might, if you've grinded forever, you might have Bolt 2. But when you play with Sephiroth, he has Bolt 3. And like he has like the gangster magic, you know what I mean? Like he's dealing mad damage. Like it was like the first time you saw Bolt 3, so like it looked crazy and fancy.
Yeah.
Like it was like, man, this guy's a literal warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, see, I wonder if that'll be the first boss battle and if they rework that in a way, or if they're just going to introduce something before you get to Calm.
Yeah.
Because the intro of I feel like I'm talking too much. But like the intro of 7 to me, even in the remake, is the perfect way to introduce a game. The bombing run is perfection.
Yeah.
Everything from music to battle to scenario, everything is perfect.
They start you hot. Yeah, that's how you got to do it.
Exactly. They start you ready to go.
Yes.
And no Final Fantasy game has done that ever since or before.
So you're hoping, and I'm hoping the same thing, for however way they want to start the next part, it's kind of the similar scenario.
Yeah, you gotta give me the hotness. Like you gotta get me ready. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy VII throws you into a battle in the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like 6 sort of does that, but they're like very pushover battles. Like you have the Magitech armor, so you're literally one-shotting everything. And like you're one-shotting things with like very advanced magic that you don't see again until way later in the game. So it's a little weird. But yeah, 7 is the perfect opening to a game. So I hope they like either bring the heat or make it so if you played part 1, you can skip the heat and then go right into the story that they know you're waiting for.
I will play all of it no matter what, because it all better be heat. No, like I feel like that's all they're gonna give us at this point. Because this was like, if we were to get an impression off of anything, like this first impression that they gave us with this first part is like, okay, like this is what we're getting. This is how they should do remakes. And they did an amazing job. Like if I could personally thank them, like if I ever got to meet them, like I'd be like, you guys changed my life. Like I had to stay up 27 hours just to beat the last 2 chapters and the side quests.
Dude, I'll tell you 2 people that you could tweet that to who will appreciate that. There's Slate Nelson, I think his name is. He's their community manager. He's a really cool dude. And then there's Neil Pabone, who is producer on the game, or like head of marketing on the game.
Yo, I will literally I will link all of my stuff. I'll be like, I did a 27-hour stream, impromptu, didn't plan on it, but I needed to because I told my streamers I was gonna do it to beat the game. This is my experience. I'll link all that stuff because like I personally feel like they did a over the top phenomenal job. Like I said in my video, if this game does not get Game of the Year, like I will call bullshit on how they decide on what games get Game of the Year. Like there should not be any nominees. Literally just be like, okay, the announcement for Game of the Year, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Boom, done.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Unless Ghost of Tsushima is next level, I don't know. I'll play Cyberpunk, but like, yeah, I don't. As crazy as Cyberpunk can be, and as original of an idea that is, I still don't think the experience will be better than Remake. I just don't.
Absolutely not. Like I also want to play both those games too. Like especially Ghost of Tsushima. That game looks amazing. But
yeah, I'm afraid it's gonna get delayed.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's supposed to come out in like June or something, right?
June, yeah. There's a rumor that it's getting delayed till August, but they haven't said anything yet.
That's not too bad then. Still plenty of time to grind out all the things in Remake, get everything at max.
Yeah, I got to get to work on hard mode now that I maxed everybody out. I got to actually start on it.
I don't even know if I want to attempt hard mode stuff.
Give it another couple days for you to like mentally recover. Yeah. And then you're going to like watch me streaming or you're going to watch somebody streaming and be like, yeah, this is the only game that deserves to be played.
Dude, I've been watching you. I've seen Max. I saw some random guy on Twitch. He was taking on one of the bosses in the what was it? The the wow, I can't think of it now. You know, where he gives you like the visor. It's like the virtual reality thing.
Chadley,
Chadley, right? Yeah. He
the
where
Chadster.
the Chad, yes. He like I was watching people do those like those runs. I was like I missed the game already, and I
Yes.
had but last thing that I have for you is, and I already know the answer to this, but I just wanted to get it out there so the people know. After playing the remake, is it still worth, especially for those that have not played the original, is it still worth going back playing the original to see how the story was before it might take some kind of a drastic change?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. If only so you can understand how they're changing it. Like I mentioned, like way earlier, like they tried to make it say in remake, they tried to make it sound like Avalanche was working for Wu Tai, and like that is something that unless you played Crisis Core or paid really close attention to the original game, you may not understand why that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they reference the Wu Tai War like a dozen times in remake,
Mm-hmm.
and like that is something that is found so late in the original. Like you cannot find out about that story until you get the tiny Bronco. So like right after you get Sid, you have to have Yuffie in your party, and then you can find out about that. And like, yeah, like I really do recommend it just so you can like from like a from like a game design perspective, like see how to do it right, see how to do a
Right.
remake correctly.
Yeah.
But also like to just understand, like, yeah, like this game is 23 years old. The translation was kind of whack. It's I say it's whack. It's very good for being done by one person.
Mm.
Um, but like there are plot holes created by bad translation. And so like seeing how they're like fixing that up, and it'll give you like we're not going to get this game for another 2 years, I think. It's like it'll give you something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like you'll get out of Midgar in 5-6 hours, maybe 8, if
Mm-hmm.
you're taking it real slow. If it's like your first ever Final Fantasy game or something, like you'll get out of there within well under 10 hours, and then you're going to understand like why this game is so mind blowing. Like that first open world when you actually leave the Midgar screen, it's just like wow, it's like a completely different game now. You know,
Imagine
like
those graphics.
I always think this game is Final Fantasy VII on PS1 is worth playing,
Mm.
and if you can play it on PS1, if not, play it on PS4 with the 4x speed or on Switch. Like, just pay attention to the story,
Just pay
if nothing
attention.
else.
And with that, I feel like I would love to talk Final Fantasy with you all day, but let's be
Anytime,
honest. Let's be honest. My computer does not have the capacity to hold that file.
bro.
All right. So do you want you could drop whatever plugs you want. I know you stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but let the people know where they could see more Sweet Johnny Cage.
Yeah, so my primary medium is YouTube. I make guides and walkthroughs for all sorts of games, covering Final Fantasy VII Remake right now. I've done Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I cover literally all kinds of games. The next game I plan on covering will be Ghost of Tsushima, provided that comes out when it's supposed to. I do stream at least every Tuesday and Thursday. I've been trying to add in Sundays as well at 3 p.m. So I'll do Tuesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and Sundays, 3 p.m. Eastern. This Sunday I may not stream, but twitch.tv/SweetJohnnyCage and youtube.com/SweetJohnnyCage. And you can also find me on Twitter at SJCage. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right, solid. So, big shout out Sweet Johnny Cage, little lore, and I say this, and he's heard me say this before. I was like, guys, you are looking at the guy that is one of the big reasons to what built this guy up to start content creation. All right,
It's very kind.
It's been years in the making. So I've been watching him do game reviews and all that kind of stuff for the longest, unboxings. So this guy knows what he's talking about, especially about Final fucking Fantasy. Right? This is why I had to have you first. If I even decide to do any more discussion videos with anyone else, like the only other person I would really want to talk to about this was maybe like a few of my close friends from like my area.
Mm-hmm.
But other than
Find
that,
someone who has never played the original.
someone that's never played the original.
Find someone who played Remake but did not play the original.
So that would have to be like my little brother then. My youngest brother, he's 13 now, and after he watched me play it and he was looking into things and like I said he was cheating. I'm like, oh, you're cheating. You're freaking. You're looking up all this stuff you've never even experienced for yourself. Even then, after that, he's like, yo, I really want to play this game now.
Good.
So he's been actually on repeat playing the demo because he doesn't have the actual remake yet. But I keep telling
Oh,
him.
you should have entered my giveaway. I'm going to give away another copy. Hopefully
I'm gonna tell him that too. I'm gonna tell him, "Hey, you better follow my man SJCage so that way you have a chance." But yeah,
I'll drive it to him.
you're probably closer to him than me right now.
Yeah, oh, yeah. True.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, you guys know where to follow me. All the supporting links will be in the description below. More Final Fantasy VII Remake content to come. Me personally, I've been uploading my boss battles, and any other like unique or whatever clips that I felt was necessary to upload to the UchiGames channel, the UchiGames video game channel, obviously. But with all that being said, guys, take care of yourselves. Stay inside. Stay clean. Stay fresh. May the power protect you. Have yourselves a good one. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.